What a growth group coach does is really he's in charge of growth group leaders. Now, the dynamic in the setup of growth groups is this, that you will have growth groups, you will have a leader above them, someone really facilitating the meetings and directing how the group goes, and then above the leaders is growth group coaches. Now, a growth group coach can have anywhere from 3 to 5 leaders underneath them, and their whole job is to really just pour into these growth group leaders, to help them, to take care of them. If any problems arise, these growth group leaders will go to the coaches, and the coaches will hear them out, let them vent, or even just try and help lead them scripturally and through prayer into what a good response may be for the situation. So you have your leaders and then you have your coaches. Just like any sports team, you have your players and you have your coaches. Well, growth group coaches are vital because they help pour into and help mature and help disciple these growth group leaders. Why growth group leaders need coaches is because everybody needs somebody. Okay? The followers of Christ needed the disciples or apostles at the time. The apostles needed Christ. Christ needed God. And so it's that same type of format. There is no Lone Rangers when it comes to ministry. In fact, the days of the Lone Ranger are dead, but rather we are in a teamwork mindset. I mean, Jesus set that up from day one, that we need each other as a body. And so growth group leaders need coaches because they need somebody who's going to pour into them, who's going to disciple them. It's much like this, is each one of us is a lake. Well, every lake will be pouring water out, okay? But if the lake pours too much water out and no water's coming into that lake, then guess what? That lake's going to dry up. Well, it's the same with coaches and leaders. If the leader is pouring and pouring and pouring into his growth group or her growth group, but yet no one's feeding into them, no one's pouring into them, no one's discipling them, then guess what? Before you know it, they're just going to dry up and they're going to burn out. And you never want anyone to burn out, especially in ministry. So that's why growth group coaches are so important to growth group leaders. The goal of any growth group coach is to really help pour into the leaders that are under them. I know I've said that a lot, but it's really a very simple but yet complex goal. The growth group coach is in the ministry of multiplication. As the pastor pours into them, they pour into the leaders, and guess what? Those leaders pour into their growth groups. Now, any leader can have anywhere from 10 to 15 people in their growth group. So say you have 4 growth groups, 10 people in each, just for simplicity of even numbers. Well then really, if you have 4 leaders of 4 growth groups and each growth group has 10, then that coach will pour into 4 leaders, and those 4 leaders will pour into a total of 40 people. And then before you know it, that coach has poured into 40 people, including the leaders, and one guy is doing a ministry of multiplication at such a great level. When it comes to ministry, it's good to add, but if you can multiply, that's even better. And that should be the goal of every growth group coach, to multiply in ministry. The reason someone should want to be a growth group coach is because we should never stay satisfied in our progression with Christ. And what I mean by that is, too often you see Christians either give their life to Christ and then you really never see them again, and by doing so they just really want the fire insurance card. Other Christians may show up for a little bit and be like, yeah, I love Jesus, but you never really see them commit. But really what each Christian should try to do is to grow and increase in their walk with the Lord. Now, in the next step process, our goal is to take these brand new baby believers in Christ and help them to become fully committed disciples of Jesus Christ. And I think the best goal that anyone could strive to become as a Christian is a disciple maker, somebody who pours into other people, somebody who helps build other people. Listen, it's easy to pull people down. It's easy to just take people to your level when you're beneath them. But to be somebody who can bring people up with them, to be somebody who can just pull people to the top as they strive to go to the top, guess what? That is a Christian who people should strive to follow, as Paul says, like he follows Christ. And so everybody should strive to be a coach, because when you lead leaders, man, I think you grow more than any other person out there when you're the one leading leaders. So anybody who's struggling, anybody who's wondering, I say go for it and let God do the rest.